from Yes Network.
Hey, Coach. In regards to the last 4 games, I know the competition is improved with Portland, Milwaukee, and Dallas. But aside from that, just from your perspective and your team, is there something that you feel like you guys have gotten away from that you want to get back to in terms of habits in tonight's game?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I just think our level of play has just dropped, and we're going through a rougher patch. You could probably look at something different in each of the games that we need to pick up. But at the same time, we didn't shoot the ball as well as we normally do, which I don't love to point to that because shooting comes and goes a little bit, and you don't want to make excuses on that. So we didn't shoot the ball very well. One game offensive rebounding really hurt us. Another game turnovers hurts us. Another game, communication on defense hurts us. So you could go around the horn, and so I would just say that overall our levels dropped a little bit here, and it's a good challenge for us to face a little adversity, to pick ourselves up, and to try to find a way to put together a good performance.
Your personnel was very different the last time you faced the Nuggets. Your thoughts on this matchup? Obviously, what they do begins and ends with Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I think Jokic is the MVP this year. He's kind of gone wire to wire at this high level and makes his teammates better and makes everything go. They lose Jamal Murray, and they haven't really skipped a beat. So, that shows how good he is. They're a big team. They're going to throw a huge lineup out there to start the game, and they'll pose all sorts of problems. And it begins and ends with Jokic. So, really got to be super competitive tonight and connected, and enjoy what we do. Enjoy our work, take care of the details, and make sure we're willing to do a little bit extra each possession to win that possession.
Brian Lewis with the New York Post.
Hey, Steve. I was going to ask you about Jokic, but you made that pretty clear already. So I'll pivot with Nick Claxton. Month of March, he was about as good a defender as you had, probably one of the better ones in the league. And from the point where you guys added LaMarcus to the rotation, it seemed like Nick's level slipped a little bit. What does he have to do, or what do you guys have to do to get him back playing to that level before you hit the playoffs?
I think the number one thing is to get himself in shape. He's at a break here, so he hasn't been able to train properly, and so it's going to take time for him to overcome that period of time where he couldn't train. And then as a young player, you're going to go through peaks and valleys. You're going to have times where your level dips just in that you're still figuring it out physically, mentally, emotionally. So some of that is just up to Nick to figure out as he goes, up to us to give him the opportunities, and then for him to get his fitness levels up to where he can sustain the efforts.
Greg Logan with Newsday.
Steve, you mentioned the Nuggets size, and we know you generally prefer to go with the smaller, more mobile lineups. But do you have to try and get as much size on the floor tonight to combat them and to try and control Jokic?
There'll be looks of both. We don't have the luxury to just go big all the time. So we'll have some lineups that'll look a little bigger, but we're not a big team. So we're gonna throw lineups out there that will look small, especially compared to their big lineup. But we have to use that to our advantage and make them cover us in space as well, speed up the game and make them adjust to us, not just us adjusting to them.
Alex Schiffer with The Athletic.
Hey, Steve. Denver's second in the NBA, tied for second in the NBA in assists per game. Obviously, Jokic is a big part of that, but outside of him, just what other problems do their playmakers pose to you guys?
Well, I just think that he's such a willing and contagious passer. He, can make the assist, but he can also make the right read, which allows, it becomes the hockey assist where the ball moves to one or two guys down the line and they get open shots. So I think he facilitates that style of play, that willingness to pass, and he's able to knock down that first domino. So it doesn't always end in a Jokic assist, but someone else is getting assists because they're playing 2-on-1 or 3-on-2.
Christian Winfield with the New York Daily News.
Hey, Coach. I think it's Lillard, Giannis, Luka, and now Jokic. In terms of a 5-game stretch of talent that you guys have to go against, I'm not sure it gets more difficult than that. How do you see your guys growing, maybe defensively through this stretch? Because I feel like every game is a different challenge and riddle that you guys have to solve.
Yeah, it is. It's like I keep saying, we don't want to have losing streaks, but this can afford us a lot. And if we had stole a couple of these games along the way, maybe we would have swept some things under the rug. So it's a great opportunity, one, for us to face some adversity and overcome it, but it's also highlight. It allows us to look at some of the things that we need to improve on before the playoffs arrive. So, this gives us an opportunity to double down on our work and our process and try to get better and prepare ourselves for the playoffs. And we've faced a murderer's row of talent and some really good teams that all need wins in their playoff standing. And so, I think we can respond from this and look back on it as this afforded us a lot.
Tom Dowd with BrooklynNets.com.
Hey, Steve, just at center, you've had so many twists and turns to position this season. Are you still, considering you're working Nick back into things now, are you still trying to kind of sort out what you want at that position and what to do there?
At the center position?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we kind of know, we're getting to know who our guys are and how they fit. The one caveat is that we've never, I don't think we've ever seen, Kai, Kevin, James, Joe, and Blake, or Kai, Kevin, James, Joe, and Nick. Like, I don't think those lineups have ever played together. So, that is just something that is just the cards were dealt this year, and that they'll, they may not even see that lineup before the playoffs. So it's just one of those things that we can't dwell on. We have to just control what we can control and continue to move forward. But I think we have a better picture of what our options are and different lineups and combinations that we can put on the floor.
James Herbert with CBS Sports.
Hey, Steve. Obviously, versatility is the strength of this team. You've been talking about positionless basketball dating back to training camp. We've seen Bruce Brown kind of be a point center for you guys. I'm just curious sort of how your conception of positions has changed over the years. And when you're thinking of these different lineups you're playing, are you thinking in terms of traditional positions anymore at all?
Yeah, not really. I think there's clearly, you need to have some positions. Usually there is, in a sense, a 5, but sometimes maybe there's not a 5, there's a roller. You think about there's a point guard, but sometimes maybe it's just an initiator, so, the lines are definitely blurred nowadays. It's kind of like there's perimeters and then there's a big. And so you could talk all day about the different nuances or how you want to approach or qualify the positions, but I think it is trending more towards positionless, or how the pieces fit together rather than trying to fill out a traditional model.
Steve Lichtenstein with WFAN.
Hey, Steve. KD and Kyrie are historically great finishers at all 3 levels. But when you watch the film of the recent fourth quarters, do you get a sense that the team is lulled into relying too much on their ability to shoot over the tops of very good defenses?
Yeah, I think that, their shots are, when they get shots, it's usually a really positive thing for our team. But how can we, as this team gets to know each other better, generate better looks? And that's something that I think, especially in the fourth quarter, that we have to, work to improve. I think part of that is not having James out there, a traditional point guard. We'd like Kai to really score and to not have to manage the team, so to speak. And so I think some of that is getting us to a place where everyone's in their kind of most comfortable or most effective slot. And so some of that, I think, in the fourth quarter is that it's new, and new guys, new combinations. And some of it is that, we haven't had, our full complement of players.
Last question, Chris Mulholland with Nets Daily.
Hey, Steve, obviously with the playoffs coming up, your rotations get a little smaller, but Tyler Johnson hasn't played the last 2 games. Is that more so because you're trying to find a role for Mike James, or is that just another reason? Do you think that he sees minutes tonight?
I think we trust Tyler. We believe in him. He's an incredibly competitive and hardworking player that is not scared, will step up, make shots, guard, rebound, do whatever it takes. So we trust in Tyler. I think we're just going through a stretch of the season where we have a bunch of healthy bodies back. and we're trying to find minutes for guys that we don't know a lot about. So, it's been great to give Mike some minutes and a look and see what he brings to the table and what he can offer and what our options are going forward. But, Tyler's a guy that we trust. And, if it's tonight or if it's in the playoffs, I have no problem playing him and having him in the rotation. It's just a matter of what's needed, warranted, and how many minutes there are to go around.
Thanks so much, Coach. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks, everybody.